Good to go.
All right. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the fourth annual Watch Local Week, brought to you by the Haldeman County Public Library, the Norfolk County Public Library, Rainey Media, and the Strand. My name is Dean Rainey, and I'm from Rainey Media, and I will be your host for tonight's panel. We got a great panel for you today. We have a bunch of local filmmakers who are going to talk to us about making short films. And we have a local student who will be studying film, and we're going to explore the world of short film making, what the benefits are, what the negatives are, how it works. And Zoe here with us will hopefully ask some questions throughout to pick our brains, because it's a great opportunity. I want to talk a little bit about this week. So tonight is our panel of filmmakers, and we're going to be talking about short films. And we're talking about short films because a big part of this week is our youth challenge, our youth film challenge, where they'll have 24 hours to make a film from start to finish and deliver it. And if you would like to be a part of that, details are on the Norfolk County and Haldeman County websites. And it will be starting on Friday, May 10th at Jarvis. I think you'll go there and you'll get your assignment. You'll get all the details of what you need to include in your film, and you'll get some tips. And I think there's a pizza party to get you started, whatnot. And then you have 24 hours to go out, make a film, any topic your choice. And then you've got to be back the next day, May 11th, again at Jarvis, to submit your film. And then we'll have a week for the judges to watch everything and evaluate them. And then Saturday, May 18th at 4 p.m. at the Strand in Simcoe, we're going to screen all the films. And we will hopefully be screening also some of the films of our filmmakers here. So without further ado, let's meet our filmmakers here. I want to introduce you Courtney Deelan. Courtney is an award-winning director, actor, and producer based in Toronto, but from Norfolk County, I think from Delhi, right?
Yes, now Waterford.
Now Waterford, right. Go Waterford. She has a degree in musical theater and was once a part of she was once a famed Dawson City Gertie girl. So you did dance, sing, show tunes?
In the Yukon, in Dawson City in the Yukon for 2 years. And
Awesome.
I'm hoping to go back there and maybe produce the show eventually one day.
Wow, everything comes around, eh? That's great. So Courtney is a proud member of both the ACTRA Toronto and the CMPA. What is the CMPA?
The Canadian Media Producers Association.
Never heard of it. Why do I not know about it?
It's the union for producers in Canada.
Okay. My
question
was always,
okay,
sorry, I got to get a little excited about this because now we're talking. My question was, unions were made to to protect the employees, the staff. Producers aren't staff, they're the boss. Why do they need a union?
So we basically kind of set standards for certain union productions. So we're union. So all of the productions that we do, we are basically affiliated. We can use the DGC, which is the Directors Guild. We can use ACTRA members, so we can use the professional actors in Canada, but we don't have to. We can do non-union, we can do union, but it's basically a union of producers that sets a certain standard, and we set rates when we can. We work with a various level of budgets. Our budgets are quite small. Some budgets are quite huge. There's different kinds of production companies. My husband and I, Dealing with Trouble, ours is an indie company, so we're still independent artists. We still make pretty small-ish media, but it's like as big as, you know, the Netflix, the Amazon will hire CMPA producers.
So that means that you can use ACTRA in your short films?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Okay, I see what
we
that's
can,
about.
But we don't have to. So we do a mix of, sometimes we'll do ACTRA cast and then non-union crew. Sometimes we'll do a union crew. It makes more sense to use union crew, and then we can use non-union cast. In a perfect world with all the money, we would hire everybody union if we could, but that's not always the case. So
interesting. Okay, well, while you've got your company Dealing with Trouble with your partner Michael T. Burgess and Burgess or Burgess?
Burgess.
Burgess. Okay, and since you guys have been together, you've made a multitude of short films, public service announcements, trailers, music videos, commercials, and you've had quite a bit of success with your short films. The Last of Ian Campbell is currently available to stream on CBC Gem. So well done. I saw it there. I searched for that, and there it is. It popped
Oh,
up.
thanks.
It was great. Very exciting to see. And let's see here. You have another one, just Friends, right?
Just a
Just
friend.
a Friend.
Yeah, we're currently doing the festival circuit. I think we have a handful more in the summer, and then hopefully it will find a home on Gem as well. We're dotting the I's and crossing the T's. But yeah, hopefully it will be made available for you to watch in the fall.
Excellent. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Steve here is a local filmmaker originally from Norfolk County. I think he lives in Oxford County now. I don't know, man. He studied film production at Confederation College in Thunder Bay. He started his career full-time a few years ago when he established his film production company, Pressside Productions. He's made a few short films since then. He's also worked on a few television shows. And as of today, he's currently working on several more short film projects that are in pre-production, along with a new one that he's just wrapping up post-production, which is called The Legacy of Amelia, Part 1.
Yeah.
Okay, he likes series.
Yeah.
And hopefully you're wrapping up post-production, and hopefully you will have it ready for our film screening, right?
It should be very ready. Yes, hot off the presses.
Great. And then we've got Zoë Veldhuis. Veldhuis.
Yeah.
She is graduating from Holy Trinity Catholic School this year, and then she's going to Sheridan for film and television productions. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very exciting. She participated in the 24-hour Youth Film Challenge last year, and her team placed first.
Yeah.
That's great. All right. Well, welcome everybody. So let's dive into here. Courtney, why did you get into making shorts?
Long story long. I went to school for performing. I went to theater school, and very quickly found out that, acting is a love that I have, but filmmaking was just a better fit for me. I loved the behind the scenes, the producing, the directing, the writing aspect, having a little bit more control over the stories that we were telling. So we kind of jumped in with 2 feet, my husband and I, and short form content was a lot easier to kind of tackle, to just learn the ropes and understand kind of the process of what goes into making a film. I think to tackle a feature is incredibly ambitious and would have been not impossible, but not the best choice when we were first starting. We both work on Tier A productions in different capacities. He's a second AD and an APM. I work in background casting, and we both act as well. So we get to be on sets and we can see how they're run at a certain level. So we kind of took that information and took that knowledge, and you just hit the ground running, and we made a lot of mistakes in our very first project. We funded it with money from our wedding, which I don't recommend.
Right? First rule of filmmaking, never spend your own money.
But it was a thing, and we had it finished at the end. And because we have experience on professional sets, we were very lucky with the favors that we called in, and it ended up turning out a lot better than I think we had anticipated. So we got very lucky. But that's kind of how we started in shorts, and then I kind of fell in love with short form content, because you can really capture an audience and take their attention for 10 to 15 minutes. It's not a lot of time. You're not asking people to sit down and commit 90 minutes or a number of episodes to watching your content. You can really get in and give them a message in a soundbite. And I fell in love with short form content. I ended up producing a lot more than I had originally anticipated. So now I'm kind of getting the boot from Michael and the union saying, it's time for you to do longer form. It's time for you to do a feature. So I think I'm going to miss short form content when we make the switch, but it has a special place in my heart because you really can say something in a short amount of time. And I think that's really special.
Yeah, there's other shorter content too, right? Like other than just short films, music videos, TV commercials too, as well. A lot of the skills, tricks that you've picked up in short films are also applicable there. Steve, why did you choose to spend a lot of time in investment into short films?
Well, for me, short films have always been for myself like a means to an end. So constantly trying to either test my skills in one aspect or learn something new or try a different genre or constantly trying to evolve my training and expertise in different fields, different sections, because you wear so many hats when it's kind of a short form kind of content, kind of lower, risk, lower stuff. And yeah, it's always been a means to an end. Like the current one I'm working on right now, this is the first time where it's kind of almost like a prequel to like going into that bigger step of kind of that feature territory of trying to figure out that avenue and just kind of establishing a world, establishing characters, establishing kind of like viable world building, basically.
Do you think it's ironic that you're dabbling in short films, but behind you have movie posters for some of the longest movies in the history of cinema?
Well, my short films are progressively getting longer and longer. My first one was like 2 minutes, and then the second one was like 4 minutes, and then this one is actually clocking about 10 minutes. I'm trying to keep it around under the 10-minute mark for you, but it's tough.
Zoe, how did you find the experience of making your short film last year?
It was so fun. So obviously it was done in 24 hours, and that in itself is a challenge, but obviously there's all of these different aspects that you have to think about. I mean, we had to write the whole story in that time, and there were different prompts that we had to include into it to make sure that the judges knew that it was filmed in that time period. And last year I didn't have my driver's license yet, so basically my group we rode our bikes around town with the filming equipment, and it was just so fun. So I do have my license now, so it won't be the same experience, but it just goes to show that anybody can make a film, no matter how much time you have or the equipment or resources that you have available. So
Yeah, totally. Like a lot of things, a lot of people ask me, oh, they see my videos and they're like, okay, what camera did you use? Okay,
Yeah.
what lens did you use? I'm like, yeah, you know what? It doesn't matter. I've used some pretty crappy cameras. It's not really, it's just a tool, right? It's up to your creativity and that.
Anybody can make a movie.
Yeah. Are you going to participate again this year in the 24?
I'd love to, for sure.
Oh, great. Good. Courtney, how do you decide what story you're going to tell in short form? And then, filmmaking is a very expensive art. How do you find the money other than your wedding? Because you're not getting married again. So I don't know if you get another dowry or something, but how do you find the money to finance these?
So how
Sorry,
to start find me a couple of times. 3 of the projects, they were shorts that already existed, and it was either the writer or the key actor, or someone who wanted it made and was like, I like your work, I like your vibe, will you do it? So they kind of came to me. Just a Friend was the first one that I spoke to the leading actress, Pauline Way. She's a good friend of mine, and we've been wanting an excuse to work together forever. And she was kind of getting pigeonholed into this like stereotypical funny Asian sidekick role, which she's amazing at, but she was getting sick of doing it. So she said, I want to do something that's really going to be difficult for me and stretch my acting in a different way. So I said, tell me a story. She shared her story with me, and I wrote it, and I said, what do you think? And she was like, wow, I love it. So let's make it. So that's kind of how they come to be. Money-wise, my first wedding was great. We'll see what happens with the second one. We've been very lucky with private investment. A couple people have, they understand, they really like my work and they want to support. So we've been very lucky with private investors. The granting system in Canada is actually very generous. The OAC, we were able to get granting money from the Canada Arts Council because we're Toronto filmmakers. There's a Toronto Arts Council. There's lots of competitions that you can submit your scripts to that may not necessarily give you financial assistance, but can help with like camera packages or like editing suites, those kinds of things, in-kind donations, which are actually very helpful, being able to work with people and have their fees paid that you don't have to worry about it. We've used Indiegogo So crowdfunding as well.
Tell us a little bit about that,
Everything.
because that was quite popular there. What was your, it's a hit and miss success rate. What was your experience with that kind of funding?
I've had two successful campaigns. One, it was a very small budget, and it was like during COVID situation. So people were like, "Oh, you can make your movie on a phone," and I was like, "Yeah, we can, but we also have to make it safe." And so there's still money that needs to be spent. That one, I think it was mainly like the actors' family and friends that kind of gave us money for that one. This last one, the Just a Friend, was a much bigger campaign. It was a little bit more ambitious. And we got very lucky with an executive producer who, took that top spot and gave us a very generous donation, family, friends. We ended up having a co-producer from the States, Cheryl Bookout, who we've collaborated with in the past, and she was very helpful with getting our message out there in a completely different country with people that we wouldn't have had access to had she not been part of the project. So kind of, diversifying your team and using the people that you can. Our actors were very helpful as well. They were very enthusiastic about the project. So having more people sharing it and talking about it so that it's not the same 6 Facebook friends that see it when I post it. We're kind of being able to show different sets of eyes. I find crowdfunding is great, but it's also really difficult. If it's super successful in the beginning, you tend to get kind of on there on the platform's top page, and then it kind of organically grows. But if you can't build that momentum, it's very easy to get kind of lost in the shuffle. I think that's what happened with our first campaign. It was really small. We didn't get like a huge following out of the gate. So we kind of like coasted until the very end. But it's there and people can be generous and very helpful. I wouldn't say not to do it, but I think the crowdfunding was more work than actually making the movie, unfortunately.
Kind of believe that, yeah. Do you draw on your coworkers, people that are in the industry, like you're both connected, you and her husband? Are you able to like get a gaffer and he gives you a rate because he's like working with you, or maybe a gaffer wants to be a DP, so he's like, oh, I'll DP for you and you can just charge me is there anything like that?
Absolutely, 100%. We actually we have a lot of the same crew that we worked with on the very first one, and it was like we like to work with our friends, and it started very small, and if you create a really good vibe and you respect people and make sure that they get fed really well, they typically will come back. And what we've tried to do with each project is increase the rate. We want to be like a favored nations mentality and fair across the board. So when people sign on to our projects, we kind of figure out what budget we have, and then we can be very forthcoming with this is the rate. Everyone is working for it. If you're cool with it, awesome. If you're not, please don't feel obligated to, jump on the ship. But I like that idea that everyone understands and knows that their time is being respected and that person's not making 10 times more than this person, or like this person's coming out for free and that person's not. Like, we're all kind of in it for a high five and a pizza. And that kind of mentality has really helped us crew up and get consistently wonderful crews as we get bigger projects and bigger budgets.
Oh, great. Steve, what about you? How do you pick, the shorts that you're going to make, the stories? How do you pick those?
Well, story-wise, it's usually more along lines of what I want to see. So sometimes I'm picky when I'm consuming content, and sometimes it's not always finding the things that I want to see. So it kind of boils down to want to make stories that I would want to. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan. So
Out of here.
when it comes to my the last one I'm currently doing right now, finally leaning into that kind of like more fantasy, sci-fi, that kind of genre, it's a lot more labor intensive and a lot harder and a lot more, building up of pre-production to do on. And I was finally, blessed with like family and friends that were able to help me along that journey and like help get kind of like those stepping stones, right? Those like, getting there eventually kind of thing. And kind of like leaning into like the funding thing too. The things I've done so far has been like independently funded by myself, by like, and also, through friends and family, but like all coming together and just kind of like, trying to make something that, you know, can obviously go forward, or hopefully go forward, with constantly growing and all the different aspects of way we can get further.
So that sounds like a positive, right? You're getting the help of family and friends, but can that be a negative as well?
For me, sometimes it's because there's also that guilt of, like, you know, it's the weekends, right? Because everyone else works too, and, like, you know, bring them on, and, like, you know, feeding them well, and hopefully, like, you know, they'll talk to you at the next family get together again, and, you know, all that sacrifices and stuff. But it doesn't go unnoticed or unappreciated on my part, by no means whatsoever. I
Just because
appreciate
I
all.
remember you were talking about this latest one, and one of the actors didn't quite feel like shooting one day, and so that kind of like, okay,
Uh,
well, yeah, you have to
it,
be flexible, and
and
yeah,
it's
well,
also rolling with the punches too, right?
yeah.
Because, like, after that happened, like, the deadline's coming up soon, so I was like, well, how do I creatively solve this? So I kind of rewrote the last scene, and I kind of became more of a part one now of part two. It wasn't originally meant to be that way, but now it's kind of, it leads me into another, you know, story. So it's a win-win in my part. Near at the end, it all worked out. Hopefully people like it. You know, hopefully
Yeah,
they
we're
like
looking
it.
forward to seeing it. Zoe, did you have any questions for our panelists?
Not right now.
Okay.
I was just gonna say that I agree with Stephen on like creating what you want to see. I think that's really important and something that I definitely want to try and do in my film career. Yeah.
Great. So, Courtney, when you've got the film done, you found the money, you found the script, your crew all came together. You've got a film, it's like average duration. What is, I saw some of yours were 17 minutes, one was 12.
We between 12 and 17.
That's a short film. That's what we should
Yeah, we
say.
try not to go any longer than that because we find it's hard to program into festivals. And also if when we're in distribution, the feedback that we're getting is they need some wiggle room for commercials on either side. So when you push into that like over 20 minutes, then that puts you into a different bracket where again it's harder to program. So we've tried to keep them shorter. I would love to make them even shorter, but then sometimes you lose chunks of the story that are really important. So between 10 and 17 is kind of where we've lived so far. I have some micro shorts, but those ones we haven't really been able to sell yet. I think eventually, maybe one day, we'll create a little portal on our website, on our DWT website, and then have a pay to play kind of catalog. That's in the future. I'll get Mike on that.
I know we have a show on Bell. Dean and Jean make a cooking show. It's third season now, and the episodes are like 12 minutes, and it is so hard to cram story and character in there. At least we have 6 episodes, but I mean, you start an episode and you've got to wrap it up and get out of there.
Mhm.
It's quite a challenge. So when you okay, so what's your plan of attack when you've got the film? Where are you going with it? You're going to broadcasters, you're going to film festivals, you're not throwing it up on YouTube, right? You've got a
We
plan.
usually do film festivals first, because that seems to be kind of where we get the opportunity to meet, maybe the next executive producer, or people can get a sense of what our company's work is or what my work is. We've had a few people reach out because they've seen one of my shorts at a festival. That's how we got our composer for Just a Friend, who's in Italy and is amazing, and just happened to see one of my projects and was like, I want to collaborate with you. And I said, yes, God, thank you. So that aspect of film festivals is really great. Film festivals are also really tough because you don't really know what the jury is necessarily looking for each year. Sometimes a film that you think is going to do incredibly well doesn't get in anywhere, and it's like really heartbreaking. So it's there. I have a love-hate relationship with film festivals. CBC has a really great incentive. It's Canada Reflections. So I believe they have a cable channel. So it plays on regular TV for the people who still have cable TV. But then it also has Second Life to Live on Gem. And the CBC is basically if you're a Canadian artist and you can get your CRTC number, which proves that your project has enough Canadian points, then
Cavco, your Cavco number.
sorry?
Cavco number.
No, the CRTC number. And I can't think of what that's called. I can't think of what the acronym is. But anyway, you have
Canadian
to have
relevant, there's Canadian Radio Television Commission, but what we have to do is to have to, because my TV shows have to get a Cavco number. It's given to you by the CBC. I'm just like, if somebody's looking it up,
Yeah.
It's a Cavco number.
and you
purposes.
have to get like 6 out of 10 points.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of paperwork that you have to do, but
I was using the online for one of our shows for tax credits, and I was uploading my Cavco number, and they kept saying that I was born in Thailand.
no,
Yeah, this is great online website that they have there.
it's wonderful. But anyway, long story long, there are different avenues for distribution. Prime and Bell 5 is really great place for distribution. There's like all of the online spots where you can watch TV are open to shorts. So if you Google, there's like 20 different places that you can send a short. Some are paying, some are not.
How much would you make if you could just give us ballparks? I've heard terrible numbers and I've heard reasonable numbers. Prime, what do you think you would?
I don't want to get sued by anybody. Some are lucrative, some are not so lucrative. Sometimes there's a certain amount of money per minute. So however, like say $500 per minute, you're short 17 minutes times 500. That would be your deal for some. Some are like a pay to play. So I think a site like the Stratford Festival, they have a paywall. So in order to watch any of their content, you have to either pay a subscription or it's like a click to play X amount of dollars per project. So sometimes you don't get a fee up front. It's if your film gets watched, for how long it gets watched, you get X amount of dollars. If you hit a certain quota, there's some online where it will just live kind of like YouTube, where again, you have to figure out if I start my own YouTube channel and I can have my own ads, maybe that's more lucrative than sitting on somebody else's streamer. So it varies. Sometimes it's like a nice paycheck, and sometimes it's you really hope to God that someone watches it so you can get 50 cents.
Do you think, have you been able to break even on shorts or no? Just want that to be out there. I just really want the reality.
Not yet. No, we haven't.
This is a calling card, right? Like this is this is your experience. This is you as a director. You're going to use this as
the great thing that I've used it for is distribution minutes to be able to join the DGC. You have to have X amount of minutes in order to join the union. So I think I'm maybe 20 minutes away from being able to use that to join, having broadcast minutes to join the union. So that's great. Again, it's not necessarily lucrative, but having, I think it's between 150 and 190 broadcast minutes, then you can join the union. So that's a plus. There's lots of, great pluses in having your work out there. Sometimes we just want people to see it and we want the message to be taken in, and that's worth more than money sometimes.
Not where I live. I got a mortgage and 2 kids to feed, so
I have one on the way, so I might be singing a different tune next year.
You can talk to me in a couple of years. You'll be, yeah, forget about that. I got to make money. Steve, what about you? What's your aim? You finished the short. What do you do with it?
Film festivals is the first thing. Trying to get together kind of a package, like I said, especially for this one, because I've already written the feature films. There's 3 technically right now that I have written script form, and then kind of having it as a package together, concept art, kind of everything kind of like culminating together, just so I kind of have like this world building kind of motif. So when I go to explain something to someone, I can say, well, here, this is kind of like what I'm talking about, or this is kind of like the area where I'm doing. So it's kind of more of a marketing thing for me, a means to an end, but also film festivals, getting it, out there and stuff, and people seeing it. And, I do,
So yours is sometimes like a proof of concept?
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
This one in particular. The other ones have been more just kind of like testing. I've also tested myself, and this is my first time doing an action scene. So that was fun too. And maybe in part 2, I'll get a little bit better at it too. And but yeah, no, it's kind of proof of concept, this one in particular. And then maybe the next one I do will definitely be more proof of concept and hopefully lead to something eventually.
I get it. Okay, so nice. So just to recap there. So Courtney, you know, you're finding broadcasting distribution for them. They're finished. You're moving on to the next project. And Steve's using short films as more of a proof of concept, storyboard, sort of get an idea. You want to do a bigger version of these stories.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what are, Zoe, how are you doing? Any questions?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. First, for anybody who wants to answer it, but is it ever like discouraging to not break even on a film that you've submitted anywhere, or is it just like the passion for the art is still just like above anything else? Like, how upsetting is it if you're not making the money that you want to be making on it?
Do you want me to go
like to
first?
go?
Go to rock, paper, scissors.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Well, it's always you always have to get used to know for a lot of stuff, and like when you go to submit to film festivals, know this, know that. But I think what was it, Edison or something that said that you know, how many 100 ways he failed at making a light bulb, but that one time, like, you know, he learned 100 ways not to make a light bulb. So there'd be that one time that it gets right and hits right and feels really good, and you got to look past all those no's.
And then another question, just do you have any tips for the 24-hour youth film challenge for anybody wanting to participate in that?
24 hours is like really challenging. Like, I thought 48 hours was going to be hard to make a movie, but 24 is I would say just be very strategic with your writing. You don't have to be super limiting with what you're doing, but I think if you can keep it simple and keep the message, make that the ambitious thing that you have, instead of saying, I want like a big chase sequence, or I want like 50 people in it, or I want this huge whatever, really focusing on making the message ambitious and then keeping the actual shoot small, like one location, maybe less people, maybe one or two really exciting shots instead of the whole thing. That would be my, you know, like build a smaller sandbox and then make the message really ambitious.
Also, if you can live without dialogue makes things go slower. So if you can make a story just visually, it will
Right.
go a lot
Plus,
faster.
like other aspect that you have to deal with is sound. So yeah.
The music is your friend always.
I agree.
That's the greatest shortcut, because it's just a short
music.
motion. You can, and you don't have to worry about copyrights or anything, so you can go crazy. I would say, yeah, much like Courtney says too, and use what you have. So if your dad's got a cool car, see if you can use that. If somebody's got a cool location, see if you can use that. But yeah, definitely keep it simple. And back to you know, your original question of, is it disappointing when you don't make money? Let me tell you, 90% of movies don't make money. And when they do make money, the accounting team will figure out how to hide it. So make sure that it looks like you didn't make any money. And it's always hard. Of course, it's always hard. Nobody wants to make a failure, but you're going to make a lot of mistakes in this industry. You're going to hear, like Steve says, you're going to hear a lot of no's, because everybody thinks they're the next Martin Scorsese. Everyone thinks they're, you know, due to do something, and they're more deserving or whatnot. You have to persevere. I would say my number one thing for you is perseverance. You've got to just keep going at it. You're going to go into Sheridan. Everyone's going to talk big. We're all here. We're studying film. And I guarantee you 10% of that class will be in the industry later on. 90% will be on to something else. That's what I find when I talk to film students and graduating students and whatnot. So you're just going to have to keep going, you know, and, you know, we all got into this, I think, to get that, you know, for me, I got into it from an angle of comedy, right? I always love humor. So I infuse that in, and I always want, you know, when people don't laugh, then yeah, I take that real bad, right? We got in there for the like, good job, or, you know, evoking emotion from people. That's why I think a lot of us got in this, right? Is to affect people sitting in that audience. And sometimes you're going to do it, and sometimes you're not going to do it. And sometimes you're going to do it, and it's not going to be the way you thought it was going to happen, but it's going to have some effect. Yeah. So it's crazy. You just, like I say, persevere, and you just keep at it. That's why a lot of the great filmmakers, one good film, one lousy film, one great film. There's so much that can go wrong. As Courtney said before, there's just so many moving parts. There's so many things happening. A lot can go wrong, and it's really hard, even as the projects get bigger and bigger. So any other advice for young filmmakers out there? As far as a career, not more beyond the short film. If you're looking back, Courtney, you know, what would you have done differently, or what do you think you're going to do to change things up? What have you learned? You're still quite young, I think, in this industry, right?
Yeah, of course I'm young. Of course.
Young bride. Yeah.
I think the thing is, and a big thing for me personally, was getting the word like failure out of my vocabulary, because it's not a failure for you to start on one path. Like I started dancing and then I became an actor and then now I'm directing, and I didn't do that because I failed at acting and I couldn't do this. It was I deviated and tried something else and it was just a better fit. So get the word failure kind of out of your vocabulary. If you make this film and you love it, you're going to have one person who is going to watch it and that's going to be their favorite film. You're going to have a bunch of other people who don't get it or don't like it or whatever. That doesn't mean that you failed. Keep trying and keep, pushing yourself. And if you're proud of what you do, then it doesn't really matter what other people's opinions are, because it's all subjective. It's not like a race. We're not running and then the person who gets to the finish line is the winner. Like that's not what this art form is at all. You're going to have people who love it. You're going to have people who hate it. And if you kind of get stuck on that and hanging your perception of your own work on other people's opinions, like you're never, ever, ever going to be happy, regardless of the budgets that you have, regardless of the success that you have. Just being kind of true to yourself and going, okay, I did the best that I could and I'm proud of it. Or I pushed myself as far as I could. And look at this thing that I made. That's fucking huge. Sorry, I don't know if we can swear. I don't know how young people are. But yeah, at the end of the day, if you're proud of your work and you have a great time and you enjoy being with the company that you're in, that's a win. And it doesn't matter if it makes money or if it doesn't. And also be ready to wear multiple hats. Don't get stuck on like a label, like I am just a director or I am just a writer, because in like the indie world or in Canada especially, you have to do other things. You have to be open to learning different positions. You have to wear multiple hats, or it's just not going to get made, or it's going to be a lot harder to get something made. Right. So be open to learning other skills and don't get stuck on like a title, because you can do lots of other things, and just be open to it. You might find something that you love even more. Maybe you thought you wanted to be a director, but you actually love craft service. Like
absolutely. And I can speak to that because I did craft service for a number of movies in Toronto and I hated it. But anyways, I think, Courtney, that's a great point, because there's 180 people on a film set, on a big one. Okay, not Courtney's small shorts. I'm assuming they're a little smaller crew than that, but there's a lot of jobs, and you may find, man, I don't want to be yelling at everybody a director, their main job is just answering questions. How is this hat, this shirt, this dress? Do you want to walk in from here? Do you want to? And some people get overwhelmed and can't do it. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. 180 other jobs on set to do. You may find, wow, like for me, I didn't want to be on set for 17 hours a day. I'm not making movies. I'm sorry. I guess I'm going to move into TV. The hours are a little bit more normal. I can have a family. I can do other things, right? Of course, I miss that, so you figure out, how do I bring my creativity and, my love of narrative and that into the work that I am doing? So like Courtney's got a great point. Just be flexible. Yeah. A lot of room. Go ahead, Steve.
I would add on also, because I 100% agree. But on a practical sense, networking is extremely important, especially when you're going to film school. Like I'm an introvert, so it's hard for me sometimes to like go out there and meet new people and stuff, but 100%, even if you're an introvert, just get out there and meet people, meet like-minded people. They're your most valuable resource is other people, because you can make a film by yourself. It's a lot harder. It's a lot easier with other people around you that even if it's not just friends and family, but just coworkers sharing the same vision.
Yeah, great stuff.
You'll learn to cosplay as an extrovert eventually, because I feel you. Like I would like to be by myself as often as possible.
Are you an introvert? Are you?
I am an introvert who cosplays very well as an extrovert, and that is a skill that I have worked on in my years of life.
Yeah. I can relate to that too. And I would say, yeah, if I could do it again, I would have been a lot louder and I would have been in everything. Like I would have been more vocal in opportunities, but I was quite shy and thinking I was being reserved. And you just get kind of looked over. So, you kind of got to make a little bit of noise if you know what you're after and what you're going. But the networking is a key, right? Because you're going to need help and you're going to need to help other people and jobs, right? Like to pick up the phone, hey, I need somebody for tomorrow for a couple of days. Can you come to say, oh yeah, sure. And then the work gets going. How do you balance, Courtney, your job on set with casting and then short films? Like, how do you balance the two?
Well, not well. It kind of comes down to I'm very lucky with my day job. When I do get to be on set, it's usually busy at the beginning, and then at the end is like when I'm the most kind of hectic. So I have a lot of time in between. We have those 17-hour days. So there's a lot of time where I'm just kind of, hurry up and wait. So when I'm on set working for other projects, once I can kind of get that day's work done, then I have no excuse but to sit down and, write the next one or put together a pitch package or talk to people on set to say, like, this is kind of what I've got going on. Do you want to read it, or do you have any ideas, or do you want to whatever? You're kind of forced into doing it. It's when I have downtime that I'm a grade A procrastinator and go, "Oh, I don't feel like doing it right now." And then like time gets away from you. So I find I'm more disciplined when I'm doing my other job. I'm very good at panic work where,
Ram, the test is
like
tomorrow.
that grant is due. Like I think the quickest I've gotten an OAC grant in is like 3 days.
Wow.
And I'm really good at that panic get done. I'm not great when I have like 6 months to think of something. So managing
question.
time,
Do
that's
you,
something I got to work on, but
sorry,
managing.
one quick question. While you do grants,
Mhm.
do you handle the whole grant yourself, or do you get someone? Because I know there are consultants that will help you. They'll take a little bit of the money, but they'll help you with your grant application.
I'm cheap.
Yeah.
And I've been
Mm.
lucky enough to get grants, and a lot of grants, the OAC and the Canada Arts Council especially, they are artist grants. They don't want producers submitting. They want the artist to put the time in, because there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of like, it reminds me of high school and like theater school. Like tell me why. Why is this the most important thing? Like you're just like, what? But sure, it's the government money. Like you got to tell them why it's important. So like I don't want to give that job to someone else to try to figure out what's in my brain. I will outsource the budget. I will definitely ask someone who is better with numbers than I to handle the budget. I've been lucky to work with the same production designers. So we kind of have a short form in, this is what I'm thinking. Are you on the same page? And then they can help me with the design elements. But at the beginning, when I didn't have a team that I was working with consistently, yeah, I do it all because I didn't want to pay someone else and because I just am a control freak.
You got to fight. You got to be. You got to fight. It's your vision here.
And how else do you get a grant done in 4 days when you're waiting on other people? You can't.
Not going to do it. Not going to go for it. Steve, do you mind sharing just a little bit? Because I want to just maybe for Zoe or other people out there, you'll probably, and Courtney had said, right, you're going to take detours and everything. Your career is long. You've been in high school for 4 years, but your career is going to be 30 years. I was in and out of the industry.
Mhm.
Steve, you graduated film school. You
Yep.
did a little bit. And then what
Yep.
happened to you before you got to here?
Yeah, so I was in the industry for a tiny bit, and then I went, oh, sorry, that's my dog. I was in the industry for a little bit, and then I actually started working in factories for about 6.5 years or so, just building up money more than anything. But the whole time I was doing that, I was making plans and trying to figure out what I wanted to do next, and the avenue which has led me to where I am today, where it's that very meticulous planning. So even when you're not doing exactly what you want to do, you're still looking to see how you can get there. So it sucked the days when I was not doing what I wanted to do, but it was always that,
You're working
light at
towards
the end of the road.
Yeah.
Hopefully not a train. Yeah.
that train coming towards you.
Yeah.
And so then you were able to quit that job. And then the
Yep.
last 2 years, you've been working. I know you work for me sometimes,
Yep.
some of the other producers around, and then working on your own shorts.
Yep.
So it's great that, because sometimes people get into those factory jobs and say, oh, the money, I got to make this now. But you really stuck to it and persevered.
Persevere.
Golden handcuff jobs. They're tough.
Yeah, real tough, real
Like,
tough.
it's tough.
Anything else, Zoe, that we can answer for you?
Question. Oh yeah, we got a couple of comment questions from YouTube. Okay. Okay, so Mayor Olivia Chow is heading to LA tomorrow to promote Toronto as a filmmaking location for movie maker investors. Are you surprised at the press this has received the past few days?
What press has it received? None? Okay. I don't know. I thought Toronto was already pretty well established, and as long as the Canadian dollar's doing well, they'll come up here and film, and there's tax incentives. So I don't know.
100%.
I think she's wasting a trip. I think we're
I don't think, I think it's kind of an unnecessary press thing that she's doing, because like Toronto, we have some of the greatest crews ever. Like the studios that are available are booked into like 2026. So we don't necessarily need to, bring more American work here. What I personally would love to do, and something that I talked to Dean about, I think eventually, I'd love to create kind of a Southwestern heritage tax fund, which is an incentive to bring, some of the Toronto work out towards this way. It was really successful with the Northern Heritage tax credit. Like they have an entire industry that's like gone up north, like North Bay, Sudbury. That's where my husband is right now. Hamilton exploded. They have their own tax credit, and Hamilton's industry is huge and booming. So why not have something that's a little bit further out here? Toronto's fantastic, but if we can have consistent, top tier work out here, like I'd move here 100%. I wouldn't be in Toronto anymore.
Wait, I thought you lived in Waterford. What's going on here?
50-50.
50-50. Okay, watch it.
It's 50-50.
Yeah, I'd like to see more overall Canadian production. It's great that Americans come up and make it, but they leave as soon as the dollar goes up and as soon as the tax credits leave. We got a lot of talented crew, and it'd be, I wish maybe Canadian people were a little bit more into Canadian stories, but I get it. That's the thing that I thought when I was a teenager too, right? Or younger person. Anyways, another question from the comments.
There's a follow-up question to that one. Why do you think she's going then?
This is a free trip to LA.
Right.
Why else? So she can go meet some stars.
Publicity.
Yeah.
Because everyone is so angry at her about the gardener right now.
Gardener raising taxes. There's a lot.
Like she's like, bye.
Out of here.
There's another one.
Yeah, there's one from Windecker Road Films.
Oh, get out of here. We don't take that guy. Graham.
Steve, Black Magic or Canon?
I don't know. So I'm gonna have to say Canon until after Friday. It might change, but I'll have to say Canon right now. But my opinion might change after Thursday. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Courtney, is there when you're shooting a film, are you trying to make a mini, like big feature and use like a big format camera and something fancy, or are you toning down the equipment and maybe using smaller DSLRs or something more cost efficient? What are you doing to balance that?
My strength is in the story and working with actors, and that's what kind of makes my heart sing. So whenever I'm working with a DP, I kind of defer to what they are the most comfortable with. Because if you have an AD or a DP that like is used to a DSLR camera, I can make a DSLR camera look like an Ari, then great. I'm not gonna throw a red at them because we can afford it. I want the DP to use the equipment that they are really familiar with. I've kind of worked with DPs across the scale. Some love like a DSLR, and I've been lucky enough to work with like Reds and Aries as well. I kind of defer to them because that's their aspect of the film that they're really excited and geeky about. And I try to get them whatever they need to kind of get the vision so we can meet in the middle on the vision and support their craft too, because they're, you know, the look of the film is a huge part of their creativity. So I always kind of defer to like, what do you guys want to use? And then if we can afford it, we make it happen. But I don't think, and again, I'm a director, not a DP. I don't think it makes that much of a difference. I've seen like incredible stuff come out of an iPhone. It's not like an audience is going to sit down and go, well, they didn't use them. They didn't use an ARRI. Those aren't anamorphic lenses. Like nobody fucking
our
cares.
caller there from Windecker Roads would do that though. He would say.
Sure,
Yeah.
but like the average person doesn't care. And I think like even Netflix now, they're like, look, if it's 4K,
Yeah, that's it.
don't care.
That was my next point, because you got to be a little bit aware of where when you're delivering this to a broadcaster, some of them do have cameras that they designate. But so far you've been able to navigate that in your DP. But
yeah, we've used oh goodness, Patrick's gonna kill me. The DSLR that we used isn't like an A7
S, yeah, that's a Sony. Sorry, Graham, that's a Sony.
like that we shot on that and they were like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
As long you can Google these specs as well, as long as your camera can fit the specs that they're looking for and you can make it look great, then they usually don't care. It's when you're shooting and you don't necessarily understand the formatting and you think you're shooting on 4K, but it actually comes out like 1080p and it's not in focus. And then you try to take it somewhere like CBC and they're like, it doesn't look the way you think it looks. So understand, you know, what the deliverables are and then work backwards and go, okay, can this camera support the deliverables? And I wouldn't get a fancy camera just because if you don't know how to use it, then you're not going to get the most out of it anyway. So yeah, I think toys are fancy and fun, but that's not my jam. And I might be speaking for my DPs, but I was like, it looks good. Do I believe the actors? That's what really, you know, that's what irks me. Do I believe you or not? So
I guess we want to maybe point that out too, like for Zoe and people like Zoe, there are all kinds of directors. There are actor directors like Courtney here. There are action directors like your Michael Bay. He doesn't care about acting. He doesn't care about dialogue. He just wants to blow things up. George Lucas, a great, CGI, horrible actor. Like he has they're just Muppets as far as him. So even as an actor, you might specialize in comedy, romance, stuff like that. So lots of things to consider there. You don't have to know it all. It's a big palette there you can just focus in. But Steve, your thoughts then on what about you? Do you consider yourself an actor's actor, a writer's actor, an actor's director, a writer's director, a camera director?
I think more camera, because I like the visual aspect, the visual storytelling a lot. Like I like dialogue. Obviously I like Lord of the Rings, so I like dialogue too, but sometimes I love those like quiet moments. And like, one of my favorite moments in like Star Wars is actually in Revenge of the Sith, with that window scene that is very quiet. There's no dialogue, but it conveys so much emotion and so much just through visual storytelling.
Yeah, and you got to remember, it is a visual medium, so that is super important. All right, it is. We're almost at the 1 hour mark here.
Yeah, there's one more question from YouTube. How do you source your music for your films?
For me, I use
for anybody. So
I use Artlist. It's been amazing so far. Just looking through stuff. I know when I've worked with Dean before, Storyblocks and stuff like that. Great sites.
So it's artlist.io.
Artlist. I think
so.
.com. It's American. I think.
Okay. Anyways, you license each individual track. You can buy them there. We use that. We use Audio Jungle, Storyblocks, and where you can, some original composing when you can. It's expensive. You could, the average, just to give you a ballpark, it'd be $100 a minute for your average to low range composer. Courtney, what about you?
Same. It depends on the budget. If I don't have the budget, then Artlist is amazing. Just be careful with some of the clips that you pick and try to dig a little bit deper, because there's a lot of music that I've used in mine that I like now see on TV and like Bell commercials and stuff, and I'm like, fuck.
Yeah. Go to like the 15th page.
But like young musicians and composers, if there's like a new like you're going to Sheridan. I think they have like a music program and like maybe think talk to other students, because if you guys can build in together, then great. Build your careers and work together. Animation too, like that's a great resource if you can like meet up with the animation classes, and like obviously the actors and the performers. If you can all kind of, jam together when you're at school at the same time, you can kind of build relationships early and like support each other going forward. I think that's one of the best aspects of school, is to kind of find your tribe there, and work together. Yeah, we got very lucky with Lorenzo being our composer. It was expensive, but totally worth it.
Like, was it in the ballpark of what I said? Like a $100 a minute of finished film, of finished music.
He reached out to us because he was interested in collaborating. He loved the story. And I said we weren't expecting to have music. We budgeted for artlist music. So our campaign ended up doing a little bit better than I think we were anticipating. We had a little bit more money. And I said, look, this is what I can offer. And it was in line with what we were paying for sound design and editing. Like I said, the whole favored nations kind of mentality. I didn't want to spend an exponential amount on music and then not in the other departments. So I said, keeping it fair across the board. Are you comfortable with this? And he said, yeah. So it wasn't that, but
Great, yeah.
I've seen like where it's between like $100 and $200 per minute.
I think John Williams is 10,000 a minute.
And like music
Does
is
he
so
get off?
important. It's so important, but like not that important. Like, I have to put that on the screen, I think.
Right? Phew. Any other questions there?
There is one more. For Steve. You mentioned you mentioned networking. When film crews are in small local towns like London, Chatham, etc., do you ever go to the site location to watch the process and network, etc.?
I should more. I've gone out there with different and tried. But yeah, no, I think that's definitely seeing what's up. Knocking on, putting yourself out there is important too, right? So that's how I found Dean, actually, was just looking him up, and instead of like him reaching out to me or just kind of like reaching out, basically went and knocked on his door, and it didn't work out at first, and I just kept bugging, basically being a nag.
Persistence, not bugging, persistence.
And eventually worked out. So even if it doesn't mean going to sets, but like going and meeting new people and meeting other, like London or wherever, and then like seeing these production houses or like emailing, you never know when they're like, hey, we don't need you right now, but we'll let you know in the future, and just be like, hey, just a follow-up. They'll be like, hey, we need a PA or something for the day. Are you available? And then that's you're in with these people, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't go knocking on trailer doors though. If you see a film crew in your town, I would just let them work, because they are working and they're working long hours and they don't always have time. Look, I'll be honest with you. Some of the film crews that I've been on, they don't even want to teach the people that they're working with, because everybody is like, no. If I teach you, you're going to replace me. So there is not like when I was working with directors, there's not a lot of mentoring, not a lot. Okay. But if you have friends, family, if you have a cousin who's a grip or whatever, yeah, pick their brains. Talk to them about it, and then go to networking stuff with other peers like yourself, other up and coming filmmakers. And, when you do find sort of a senior person who could mentor and they're willing to share, then yeah, gobble it all up. Courtney, your thoughts on that? How do you get mentored, get information, and for an introvert?
I think trying to be the solution for someone is always helpful, instead of, like asking, hey, I want a mentor. What can I pick your brain, or can I do this? Can I do like be the solution for someone? And if they are looking for like a last minute PA, and that's not necessarily the thing that you want to do, or you don't necessarily want to work for free, or blah, 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 jump in sometimes. Because sometimes if you can be a solution, they will be more apt to help you out. If you can do, like 2 gives for every ask, that tends to be a lot easier for people to digest. There's a great Facebook group. It's I need a producer, I think is what it is. I need a producer. And people post all the time, like kind of everywhere. There's Toronto, there's, Hamilton, there's outside, whatever. People
Sorry,
post, like,
just
"Look,
there was one in the group yesterday looking for a production coordinator emergency today in Delhi.
so keeping an eye on that and going like, yeah, I could do that, or I could help out with that. And if you're available and if you're able, jump in, because you never know what connection you could get out of it, or what experience. Maybe you're not a production coordinator, but if it's a free gig and they just need someone to help, and you can say like, look, I can jump in and help you out, maybe you'll learn the position. Like, it's definitely doable. There's ways to learn, there's ways to help, but if you can help somebody, I find that energy, that karma comes back tenfold. So yeah, I try to do the 2 gives for every ask, and then people tend to be very helpful.
That's great. Great advice. Well, thank you, everybody. This is great. It got me excited again about filmmaking.
That is an accomplishment.
Right? Yeah.
Are you angry? Are you bitter? Do you not love this anymore?
No, the reality. I'm a lot older than you, Courtney. Been through a lot more. I want to thank everybody, Steve, Courtney, Zoe, Belinda there from the library. And I just want to invite all the young people, come out and try the youth challenge, the 24 hours. Yeah, 24 hours. That is it. You won't even sleep, right? There's no sleeping, right, Zoe? Or you go,
Gotta pull an all-nighter.
right. You edit and then you shoot and then you edit and then you deliver. And that'll be for 24 hours. And then May 18th, I want to invite everybody to come out to the Strand, 4 p.m. in Simcoe to view films by Steve, Courtney, and our young filmmakers.
4:30.
What's that?
4:30.
4:30. Okay, 4:30. Yeah, sorry, I got the wrong time there. Ooh.
You could be early. Show up at 4.
You can be early. We're gonna have a red carpet. Everybody can walk the red carpet, get some press, a little selfie here and there.
Now I'm really getting excited. Mr. Hollywood coming to Simcoe. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. I want to thank you all for joining us, and to everyone at home watching.
Awesome.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Break a leg. Cheers.